Thank you. I was going to wing it without the presentation, so thank you everybody for diving in here. I changed my presentation last night. I changed it the day before as well, but because of the experience I've had here at Hatch. I think just where you were located, just here in Bozeman, it sort of really begs storytelling. It really begs people to experience life to its fullest. And I've never felt such friendship and warmth from an audience before at any conference that I've done. And I've been doing many over the years. So thank you. Thank you all for your warmth and your support. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to talk to you. I'm not going to talk to you about the ad campaigns and the branding and the design and all that malarkey that I've done over the years. I'm going to talk to you about some of the lessons that I've gained and some of the lessons that I've gained more recently in the last year and a half. I had the privilege to go up and do a bit of mentorship at the university or the college as soon as I landed from New York. It seems like a week ago now, a few days ago. And just being able to relay those stories back, to see the kids light up and go, that's actually something that really helps me, is really important to me. It's not about me talking, it's about you getting inspiration and feeling that you got some gain and some progression. So I've wasted enough time. Let me see if this little Bobby Dazzler works. Antarctica is the coldest, the driest, the windiest, the 5th largest continent on the planet. And I was on 16,000 feet on the side of a rock face when I wondered, what the fuck am I doing here? I've been running global agencies for 20 years in the creative field. And one thing that I discovered was that to motivate creatives, motivate the introverts to be extroverted in their talents, required me as an extrovert to understand what pushing boundaries was all about. And for my many years, I've been pushing those boundaries. And sometimes you need these lessons in life. When I was in Antarctica, I went there because I'm climbing the 7 summits, and it was my 2nd summit. And I landed on a Russian aircraft carrier in the back with 40 other mountaineers that hardly spoke. They were all there to discover and express their lives. And it was an amazing experience. It was terrifying, terrifying to see something, to see a climate that could crush a man so quickly. It made my life very, very different. It made my life challenge the way it was thinking. Everything was going great, and we'd been walking for a week, and we were on one of the high plateaus. My team at the bottom was holding the camp together. I had 2 friends way ahead of me, Kit Delorier, who's the world's first woman to ski the 7 summits, was ahead of me, and the weather changed. It was hard. I find it very hard to tell the story. But at that moment, my glasses froze on the inside. My hands, I took them out of the mitts to scrape the inside of my gloves, and my hand froze. I realized that if I'd fall at that point, the terminal velocity would rip my clothing off in 10 seconds and I would be dead. But I kept going. Something drove me inside. I kept going, and I was determined to do it. And every step seemed to take 5 minutes, each step, the exhaustion. I was burning 10,000 calories a day just because the temperature, the inside of my tent was minus 60. My hair would fall out when I took my hat off. And the thing that kept me going, the thing I thought about as I was climbing up that mountain, was a list of people that I hated. I was like, fuck, I hate that person. Hate him as well. And I got to the summit, and I cried. I cried. I'd lost all the toenails on my feet. Half of my team in that storm, the worst weather in 15 years of Antarctic exploration, had got frostbite. The leader of Patriot Hills had fallen, broken his leg in 3 places. It took us 4 days to get him any painkillers. And the base camp that was holding it together at the bottom, our camp leaders there had gassed themselves in the storm by keeping the stoves on to keep warm. Our Twin Otter flight that we went in on had turned over in the wind. It was close. It was really close. But it really shed these lessons on me, and it gave me one thing, that the question I asked myself, why am I doing this? And it's down to self-belief. Self-belief that I could do it, self-belief that I had the balls to do it, and the self-belief that I could push myself to a new level to be able to come back and tell my 4 children, to tell my friends, to tell my colleagues, that if there is a challenge in life, you can do it. You're human. Anybody can do these things. And push yourself, you will achieve your goals. And then I went back to the agency world. I was working on global campaigns for Coke and Toyota and Canon and Adidas and things like that. It was all very exciting. And I'd sold my agency, Attik, to the largest agency in the world, Dentsu. And then I became the CEO of Dentsu in America, and it was like, is this where I want to be? And then suddenly I got to a point where I realized I was part of the largest introverted community on the planet, the creatives, the people that were the least secure, because they were excellent at their delivery of their medium. And then I realized the society we were living on was based around making those insecure people feel less confident. The naysayers, the people that would laugh, the partner that may not believe in you, the friends that would snigger behind your back, the clients that would just reject your ideas as though they were free-form and of no value. And I felt the society was wrong. I felt the agency community was wrong. I felt this is really, really tough. And being part of a very large organization, I realized that the people that were overseeing the creative community were the people that were being educated in parameters, the accountants that were told they had to use formula all their training lives, the lawyers that had systems and boundaries for everything they were doing. And I felt that we were being crushed. And it made me feel very sad. It made me feel very powerless. And the worst thing that happened is I started to think that I had one card in life. I'd sold my agency, I'd built up to a certain point, but my card had been played and I didn't know if there was a future. And it scared me. It really, really scared me. I thought, shit, I've come to America, I've done all these things, I've made me millions, I've climbed mountains, I've motorbiked the hardest land race in the world, I've done all these things, but I am terrified. Why? And why should I be terrified? And all these younger people that didn't have the opportunities were being crushed by the restrictions of the naysayers. And I believe that the creative community needs a lot of help with positivity to reinforce the confidence in these people that are introverted but make our future. Back in the day, you go back in the cave times, what do? You get up in the morning, you put your furry sarong on, your toga, you pick up your club, you'd walk to the end of the cave, and you'd put your head out, and then you'd hope you wouldn't be killed that day by a toothed bird or a giant poison-spitting lizard. And up until the last 20, 30 years, our grandparents and their parents and their parents have had to fight to survive. And I realized it was down to friction that was pushing us to go to new levels. We needed challenges. As creatives, we need challenges to push ourselves to new heights. And I realized these expeditions were about me pushing myself to new heights of confidence. And the friction was determining and putting me in a terrible situation that made me think differently. Has anybody been in a car crash or an accident? Or seen something terrible like their child falling off something? Everything slows down. You see it and your body can't move, but you see it happening. Because you're in a friction zone and your brain is working as fast as it can go to react. And when we're in the creative side, we're working as we do. We don't go in the friction zone. We're not challenged sometimes. We're with people that just yell, it's a job, let's get it done. You've got to bring that back, be it through deadlines or exploration or challenging or working with other people. And I got out of the friction zone, I realized it. So my contract ended on April 1st. I resigned April 2nd. I thought it was a bit rude, resigning April 1st. I'm going to resign. No, you're not. Ha, ha, ha. It's April Fool's Day. No, I am resigning. No. Funny. No. So I resigned, and I sat back, I talked to my friends, and I thought, what am I going to do? I've got to get that reality back, and I have to get fear out of my life. Because if I don't have the progression, if I don't have a way forwards, I'm going to struggle. So, hopefully. This is what I did. Is it there? I left my children, 3 children, and 1 in the belly. I left my friends, I left my colleagues, I left my business, I left the country. And I went tracking lion on foot for 2 weeks. There was a guy in front with a big gun, a tracker, and there was a guide behind with a big gun. And I was in the middle like an Oreo cream thing, with my Nikon, working out for 2 weeks how I could kill a lion if it ran at me with a camera. Because you have 500 pounds of claws and teeth that's pissed off, potentially around every bush. And I did this, and I hated it. But I came back and I said, in life, the challenges that we face, are they real challenges? That's a challenge. That thing gets its teeth into you, then you realize that life is in a really bad situation. And not only that, while I'm tracking this, I'm walking past rhinoceroses and elephant and leopards and snakes and crocodiles. I'm like, yeah, there's a lion around the corner, you're not really that scary. And I'm like, I shouldn't be here. But what it did was it gave me a different perspective on life. It gave me a reality check that made me really excited to come back. And I thought, that's a key lesson. My next lesson that I gave myself was, I'm going to get away, and I'm going to live somewhere else. And I was working with a designer called Donna Karen, and she told me about this mad creative called John Hardy in Bali. And John Hardy was a jewelry designer. He sold his jewelry business. And he failed all his schooling, as I failed all my schooling. And he decided he wanted to reinvent the creative environment for schooling. And he built a school out of bamboo for 300 people. And so the children go there, and they go to school, and they check their paddy field. They make fresh cacao and take it and make raw chocolate. They help the solar systems. And I took our 17-year-old son and checked him into this school, and he's still there in Bali. And it changed my life. Because what John realized was the people that were creating the schools in our worlds were also designing the institutes for prisons and the government buildings. And what he did is he said he wanted a school, he wanted an environment that didn't have windows. It didn't have walls. There was no square edges. Every chair, every table is round there. And the kids blossom And it took me back, and I realized it when I was in Bali. I packed up the family, moved, and a week later, I was living in a bamboo house. Pretty nice bamboo house. I had 11 staff. It was really cool. For a third of the price of Manhattan. And it took me back to a story. When I was 18, my mother died. She died of cancer. And she died 2 months before my exams. It was a bit of a blow, a bit of a tough one. And I took my exams and felt a little light-hearted when I was taking them. And 2 months later, I was sitting in the car next to my stepfather. My real father passed away when I was 6 months old. And I was sitting in the car next to my stepfather, and I opened the envelope with my results. And I'd failed them all. Failed everything. And I said to my stepfather, I've had it. I don't know what to do. And he said, he breathed deeply and calmly, because his pride was crushed because he was a headmaster. And he turned to me and he said, Will? No, he didn't. He said, son, remember. He said, son, there's a wall in front of you. And you must always remember, there will be walls thrown at you throughout life. Everyone will want to see you fail. Everybody. At some capacity. But there is a wall that we will go over, or we'll go round it, or we'll go under it. And since then, I've never seen a wall. As John Hardy wanted for the kids, he took the walls away so that you could have it. That negativity and no's would not rule your world. And for me, that is the biggest lesson you can have in life, is how to get past these walls. Because they're there everywhere. And it's down after living in Bali and seeing everybody I met who smiled. Everyone smiles there. I went there from New York, I'm like, what are you smiling at? Have you got my wallet? Watching you. And it was like that. I didn't trust anybody. I'm like, what are you doing? You go into a village, you're like, hey, everyone's like, hey, here he is. I'm thinking, you have no idea who I am and why you're smiling. But they have this positivity, and the next lesson I learned being in Bali was the power of community and the positivity there. Nobody doubts you. Nobody naysays you. It's against the culture. Everybody welcomes you, and everybody wants help. In the mornings, you'd see all the women going down the street. And then all the men would go down the street the other day with sickles to go and clean the village. They'd all do it together. But they were the best craftsmen on the planet. They were building bamboo castles like this from a castle they'd built out of sticks. No CAD drawings, no CG. They'd make it, and they'd go and build it. They had this confidence of doing whatever they wanted to do. Nobody said, yeah, you're not good enough. Show me the 9 times and I'll give it you the 10th. They had this opportunity to push their creativity to new levels. And for me, that's the second thing, is surround yourself with people that are positive. If you're somewhere that you don't enjoy, get up and go. If you're with someone that's negative, bid them farewell. And you've got to live in those passionate communities. You've got to build in those environments that really push you with the friction so that you're thinking differently all the time. So I feel kind of blessed of the lessons that I've learned. I think kind of the way that you see creativity in life, you must have exploration. You must have adventure, be it going into the beautiful parks here or spending time with your child and spending time looking and slowing it down and absorbing it. Because we can all run fast, but only the intelligent go slowly because they understand all the beautiful things that are happening in life. It's really important. So my life is split into 2 worlds. One with a very bad cocaine habit on the left. I just realized that as I was putting on there. I'm like, God, I look like I'm in real trouble. One of a life of adventure, because adventure brings wiseness, it brings in richness into your life, and it brings patience for all the people that you're with. But then balance it with the other side. As creatives, if you're introverted, find an extroverted partner. Do not take it on yourself. Work together. Feel confident together. Because teamwork is the only way you can do it. You've got to feel comfortable. If you're going to be creative and push boundaries, you've got to be confident with the people you're working with. And it's hard to break that. I'm going to do a quick test, actually, just before I finish. Can you all stand up, please? We're all creatives and we all work together, right? Yeah? We work in teams and things like that. I want you to all hold hands with the people next to you. So you've achieved the first thing in adventure and creativity. You've stood up. That's the first thing you have to do with any challenge in life. You have to stand. But holding hands, how awkward does it feel? You're thinking, God, they've got really sweaty palms. If they didn't wash their hand after the bathroom, I am going to freak. But this is the basic thing of connectivity. If you can connect and feel comfortable, as the two Balinese guys walking down the street as brothers do every day, you will break down barriers that other people can't even attempt, because you have the confidence in yourself and you have the beauty inside yourself to connect to other people. You can let go now unless you don't want to. Okay, thank you. All right, any challenging questions? I've missed off about half of it. I didn't realize how fast 15 minutes went. Yeah, mate.
Are you continuing the 7 Peaks Challenge?
I was supposed to go on the third, which is Carmel's Pyramid, I believe, in Papua New Guinea. And my climbing partner went, and it was so technical, he worried me about it. I'm glad I didn't know, because he went with another guy, and on the way down they got arrested, because they had to cut through a gold mine because things went wrong. And he was kept in a steel box for 2 weeks in a gold mine. His partner curled in a ball and had given up on life. So the little stories like that make me a little worried. Everest will kick my ass. And to be honest, I had back surgery. I played rugby and I broke my back. And so it's good for party tricks, but I can't really feel my right leg. If somebody wants to run it over later. But what it does is it makes me... it made me challenge whether or not I was going to push myself. So I do these expeditions to push my body, to try and keep fit. And then a friend of mine diverted me from doing the mountains and said, I'm going to ride the highest road in the world on a Royal Enfield Bullet. Do you want to go? And I have a terrible habit, so please don't challenge me on it. If somebody asks me to do something 3 times, I have to do it. It's like, shut up. You know, like you hear it the second time and you're like, ooh, it's going to come. And the third time, and he asked me 3 times and I said, is it hard? He said, my dad's doing it, he's 72. I'm like, 72. All right, I'll do it. He didn't tell me his dad was in the army in Australia and a training instructor and all that. So Mark Fuel got me going in this wrong direction and punished. Now, I didn't ride a motorbike. But what I did was, another philosophy, if I say I'm going to do it, we've had talks this over the last 2 days saying, write it down. Don't think it, write it down. If you take it from here, it's no longer a dream, it's a plan, an action. I go one step further. I go from here to here, and then I tell everybody about it. Because the person whose ears are closest to my mouth is mine. And if I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. And the next thing I do is if it's a trip or an expedition, I pay for it. And then I work out. So for Antarctica, I'd push myself to a real level. So I used to spend an hour every week submerged in an ice bath until I would pass out with a trainer to get used to the cold. Saying that, the hotel I'm staying in, I'm freezing. I said to the woman on the reception this morning, I said, look, dude, you've got to put a heater in here. He said, well, the manager's on holiday. He doesn't want to turn the heating on. I said, I am colder here than I was in Antarctica. So it was very funny. But yeah, so the long way around. I'm going to try and do more. A few of us are going to go and do another trip across Africa next year. So if we can do it, yeah.
Did you kill the lion? That fantastic photo was amazing, but what happened to that lion?
I actually wrestled it to death.
To death?
Yeah, yeah, I just got it in this like, kunk, kunk. The worst thing is I only saw the lions when I was on the Land Rover moving around. And if anybody's been to Africa, Central Africa's all grasslands. South Africa is a bush every 5 feet. So I was walking like this for 8 hours a day thinking this may block its throat for a second while I run. Or I didn't see it. I didn't see the lions on foot until at the very end. So that meant I was terrified. If I'd have seen it early on, I'd have gone, oh, wow, there's a lion. Cool, tick. It didn't attack me, so then I'd have been calm. But I stayed terrified. You know. No, I didn't kill it. I wasn't there to kill it. I was there to photograph it. Yeah, I was trying to photograph it. Yes, Jeff.
So, what advice would you give some of the younger people here that don't have the means to get on a plane and go to Africa or Antarctica about challenges sort of to motivate to go around or undergo the
Yeah, it's not about money. It's not about, you want to, that's the first excuse that you have. I came to America to be a lifeguard when I was 20. Realized the power of an accent for the first time in my life. So what the fuck am I doing in England? Hello, those are nice bikini, isn't it, darling? Yeah. I like your accent. And to get there, I worked in a carpet factory, cutting out tiles, and I raised $1,000. And got on a plane. And I went there to work, and I pretended I was Irish. Because in New Jersey, if you're Irish, everyone wants to give you a job until it was discovered, and then I got fired 3 hours later. But it was an excuse not having the will to do it. You have the world at your fingertips here. You know, people say, you know, when I had my agencies, you have really creative companies, and the reason you do so well is because you're in New York, you're in Tokyo, you're in San Francisco, you're in London, da-da-da-da. And I said, that is rubbish. That's an excuse. I said, the best creative we have as a business comes from our office in Huddersfield in the north of England. Why? Because there's nothing else to do there but sheep and fish and chips, and everyone's got bad teeth. Everybody's like, what am I going to do? And they create. Because sometimes you can get overstimulated by other things. And so making an excuse of where I live, the money I've got, they're all down to the effort that you put in. I washed dishes for 6 months every year as a student. I cut out carpet tiles. I packed boxes of linen. Kids today get lazy. Kids today get lazy. But they do. It's like, get off your ass and do it. You know, and it's your life. If you don't make the effort, it's not going to be there for you. And you know, like even for Bali, I've made me brass selling the company, but I rented out my apartment in New York to Daft Punk, which was kind of cool. I didn't know until afterwards. But I rented out my apartment in New York. The old people were like, Daft Punk, who's that? Rented that out, and for a third of the price of the money I got, I had an 8,000 square foot bamboo house that I'd helped somebody out that needed renters with staff and stuff. And it was awesome. But it was a means. You've got to think of the means to do it, you know? And just forget there's a wall. Every excuse is a wall. crush it, get past it. Find people that you believe that are confident, that will talk to you, that say, you know what, mate, you're awesome. Don't hang out with the people that don't. You are what the community and the people that you live with, like the Balinese.
Oh.
Sir?
It seems like the friction zone you're talking about is that place where we become comfortable with the uncomfortable. It seems like the difficulty is fighting against that terrific magnet that wants to pull us back towards that which is comfortable. I'm just wondering how you fight against that. How do you resist the pullback to being comfortable with that which is comfortable rather than the friction zone we're talking about?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you have to give yourself an agenda of things that, sorry, the question was, how do you stay in that friction zone versus staying in the zone of comfort? Because it's very easy to stay and become lethargic and go, yeah, you know what? And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if I lived in the same town that I grew up with the same people, drinking at the same pub every day, doing the same thing, my life would be richer. You know, doing this nutty stuff and traveling around in search of self-fulfillment, I don't know. But what I did find is that it really pushes my boundaries. And so to do it, I set myself challenges. I set the first challenge of climbing Mount Elbrus as a climber called Jamie Clark, who was a client, and I was helping him with the brand strategy for his business. And we were playing darts in a pub. And we were doing this game countdown. There's nothing else to do. It was at Muir Beach in San Francisco. And I was on 3 left, and he was on 16. And he says, I bet you $1,000 I'll beat you. I says, all right then. And he beat me. He ripped me off. He was a brilliant dart player, but he pretended not to be. So, all right, double or quits. And if I win the next one, I go on your next expedition. And he said, all right, that. And every time he threw a dart, he'd go. And I'm like, hold on a minute. And so I had 3 months to learn to be a mountaineer, to climb the highest mountain in Europe. And it was that passion, that hunger, that excitement to do it. You've got to seek out people that are interesting, old or young, to challenge you and change your parameters. And try and think of something every day, be it standing up and holding hands. Break your comfort zone. Give yourself things to extend outside it. You know, we do it as creatives all the time. We're looking for new ways and challenges and stuff like that. But you've got to take it into your physical as well, because it helps fuel that. It fuels the soul, I feel. Sorry, somebody over.
He asked my question.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. There's been a reoccurring theme throughout these speeches, and for me, in what I've been perceiving, and that's a vulnerability, a willingness to stand up and open your heart and talk about the things that, you know, are inside of us.
Yeah.
And I wanted you to talk about how you encourage that in your teams and that vulnerability, because I think that's a key to creativity. If you're not willing to be vulnerable and speak in front of people, then
it's a great question, because it's one thing, and I don't know if it's been away for a year and a half and becoming wiser, but I realized all the challenges, the teamwork, getting people to do everything, convincing a client, taking a challenge to a new level, it's just down to fear. If you can find the point of fear, why somebody won't push themselves, it's always down to fear. Worry of failure, embarrassment, you know, physical ability. You've got to find the source of fear to help drive them. And it's really as simple as that for everything. You know, I was talking to a guy, I was doing Ad Week last week, and someone was saying, oh, you know, the client won't use all these mediums. They're stupid, they don't understand it. And I'm like, have you found out why they're fearful, why they're scared about doing it? And they couldn't work out the calculated results of social media and whatever it is. Work on that and help them. And same with the introverted. You know, I love working with, all my friends are creative in some capacity. You know, I hate bankers and stuff and lawyers, you know, who are like, this is how it is. I'm like, you know, it just doesn't push you. The conversations aren't as rich. And it's same with the people you work with. When you see it, when their confidence turns and they go, I can do it. I believe in it. And you're like, boom, that's awesome. That's what makes me happy. It's not my success. It's about seeing them go, oh, I feel great when a student goes, boom, I've got it. Or someone says, you've changed my life because I thought I couldn't, and now I know I can. That's just awesome. And I find it, these moving stories, I find it friggin' hard. Telling you a story about I was like, great, I'm going to sob on stage. But it got me, and it's why? Because it's something that you should be able to cry. I sit on planes now, and I'm like, oh, God, the dog died. On the movie. Because once you do it once, it's like someone's popped out a cork, and you're like, shit, I'm going to cry all the time now. Like, sit there with eye masks ready to pull it down. But that's a comfort zone for a man and a woman. You're human, be sensitive. If there's an issue in life, stop and think. I've Isabella. Same name as Sandeep's little girl. She's 14 months old. And instead of how I did with the other kids, and I examine her and dictate her life as mine would be, looking through the eyes of an adult, I look down through her eyes all the time. What is she thinking from, this height as she's walking the dog, and you're like, go on, girl. How are you going to... And I try and do that all the time. If you've never done it, always look from other people's perspectives. Suspend your judgment on what's happening because you may not know all the facts. Understand why they're doing it. And look at it from their point of view. And if you see a quality, nurture it. And let it grow. But most people don't. It's like email. How many times have you had an email and it's like, comes through and it says, yeah, and you're like, fuck that, right there. And you go, hold on a minute. One, did I read it right? Just before that goes. And that's what I try and do all the time now is I'll reply to vent. You're an idiot. I erase it and go, what are they thinking? What situation are they in? And then reply. It takes a lot. Oh, my God. More pitfalls than you shake a stick at. But I think it's, again, with your students. If you find there's a fear, find out where the fear is. Try and let them, or you can understand it. Listen. We don't listen enough. We good? Any more?
Yeah, I've got a question. Do you still hate those guys that you were using as motivation for climbing?
I forgot, to be honest, I totally forgot who I was hating. It was just really fueling, though, because every time you're kicking in your crampons in your 3-layer boots, you're like, ooh, that hurt, didn't it? And you, yeah, that hurt too. It's the fueling mechanism to try and get you through. But, there's some people. Actually, it was a really interesting question, that, because I was in Bali, and there was this thing. It was actually on my birthday, and there was a ceremony. It was all these guys getting together to discover their inner self. And I was thinking, I'm in Bali, I may as well have a laugh. And the missus was happy that I'd just left the house for a while. And I went there, and the first exercise was to think of somebody you hated in your life. Hated. And walk around the room, and every person you'd walk into, you'd tell them that you hated them. Hated them. With the vision of the person you hated in your head. Because afterwards, you would then go around and say, I love you. And you'd hug them, and then you'd suddenly go, oh, isn't it nicer loving people than hating people? That was the message. But I was going around grinning. I'm like, I hate you. I couldn't think who I hated. It was like, I'd forgiven people. I don't know why. I'd forgiven everybody, even the bully that beat the shit out of me when I was little. I'd forgiven them. I'm like, you know what? I've faced lions. I've faced the worst conditions. I've ridden the hardest ride in the world. I've helped creatives crying because they couldn't do it, get back up and get their careers going. And it was really good, very, very therapeutic, and that forgiveness. So, big question. Not very good at short answers. So Tim.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I was climbing up Kilimanjaro,
Yeah.
when I ran out of people I hated, I started thinking about the really great sex I'd had. That really helped too. It was really specific, and it really...
And you got there in 5 minutes. Tim, fastest man up Kilimanjaro with a hard-on. It's funny. That's a good idea, actually. I'll do that on the next trip. She was pretty good. Funny. Okay, I know there's other people waiting, so we should wrap it. But thank you all so much. Thank you.